F-A-T. It's in the name.
Welcome into the Helping Healing Humor with Ben and Travis podcast. Today, we're knocking out all the days, the weeks, all that stuff. It's Write a Letter of Appreciation Week. It is National Good Sportsmanship Day. And we might even talk a little bit of National Cheese Doodle Day. Because I love cheese. You love cheese. Got any cheese? We'll get to that conversation right after these important messages. This episode of the Helping Healing Humor with Ben and Travis podcast is presented by Faulkner University. Faulkner University is a private Christian liberal arts university based in Montgomery, Alabama, with a mission to provide an education anchored by not only intellect, but also character and service. The Faulkner experience aims to educate the whole person. Every individual matters every day. We all want to become better versions of ourselves. No one wants to remain trapped where they are because of missed opportunities and unrealized dreams. At Faulkner University, we believe your dreams don't have an expiration date. We understand that you're looking for more than a degree. You want to find your niche and thrive in your career. Whether you're a high school senior just beginning your trek or an adult student looking for a better path, Faulkner is here to help guide your journey. Go to faulkner.edu to apply or get more info. That's faulkner.edu. I'm Travis Creasy, and that is all-pro counselor with Three Chord Counseling in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. Ben Hayes, man, how's it going?
It is going good, man. We have been hitting a bunch of these podcasts over the last couple of days as we have had some snow and ice days. So we're recording this quite a bit before it's coming out. But looking ahead, we knew there were some great things on the horizon for February and March. And so thought we'd just go ahead and knock some stuff out. So how you been doing with your break from school?
It's been great thus far. Now, we're a little more north of you. We got a little more snow today, and it's looking like Monday before we spend a whole lot of time above freezing. I think we get up to 35 on Sunday, but we won't spend a whole lot of time on that because it's come out, like I said, a month or so later. But nonetheless, we can write our letter of appreciation to cheese and those who've taught us good sportsmanship. But you're absolutely right. We've been knocking these out. This is like January the 19th that we're recording this. But, it's good to spend time together. And both you and I have been impacted by sports. Right now, we're in the midst of transfer portal every day. Which sounds like crazy nonsense to us. If you went back and talked to us at 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, transferring anywhere was not a common occurrence. It was not
Weird.
a thing. And when people did it, it usually was because of something not good happening. And that certainly happens. There's certainly stories behind these that we don't understand. But maybe we could share a little bit today of our upbringing and the people who've impacted us for good sportsmanship. So it doubles, right? This is our letter to those who've taught us good sportsmanship, and maybe our thumbs down to get a little dislike to those who won't. But we won't be naming too many names on the ones that don't. But nonetheless, as we age, it kind of gets, I feel like I'm in the wrong era because a lot of this stuff irks me to some degree. Because, get off my lawn, or the sky is the color blue I want. But I do try to remember we don't know all the stories here. And so we're sharing ours, right? And our approach and how we were brought up to have good sportsmanship. And really, I think it goes back once again to most of the things we talk about, the Bible and treating people how you want to be treated.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about with the transfer portal thing. I think the thing that I always said was your big thing is loyalty. It's like, be loyal to the people who you serve or the people you're playing for. And I think that was what we always loved about college football, was that huge amount of loyalty that you go to a school and you play there, or you sit it out and you wait your turn to play. And that was what we always loved about it versus, being, kicked around like in the pros. You go different places, but even then you have a contract that keeps you there for at least a little while. So I think that's the biggest thing that's a hit. And I think they'll have to fix some of that. But I just always loved sports. I've always loved what it means to us, and what it can do in our lives, whether it's the other people that you're playing with, or it's the coaches that you've had. You've probably experienced a lot more sports in some ways than I have through your life. I played mainly baseball. I would play some like junior pro basketball and stuff like that. We didn't have a football team. So, really, the coach that I had that probably just about the only long-term coach I had was Mike Mitchell in baseball. And I appreciated him, and probably appreciate him more now than even did back then. You know how that goes. You kind of look back and go, hey, that was an awesome time frame in my life. And a couple of the other coaches that coached and helped him over time, Mr. Radke was another one that always appreciated having as a coach. And so, it's the coaches, the other players that you play with. And so I think, just looking back, like, who is it for you, Travis, maybe that made an impact on your life in the coaching realm?
Well, both you and I we're cousins. We share the Hayes side of the family, and I've got the Creases. And I'm sure anytime you play sports against family, whether it's organized or backyard, you learn a few things. And certainly, you didn't want to cry, and you didn't want to whine, and you didn't want to, you play through it, and you deal with it. And, there's this person that's between you and the goal or whatever it is. And you have to learn to deal with it, to overcome it, to play through it. And I've coached football. I'm coaching or coached basketball by the time this comes out. That season will have been over. And we have taken our lumps, and we did take our lumps in football. We've taken our lumps in basketball, as anybody does who plays for any amount of time. And I think that's something, that social media has really hurt. Like, you're either the winner all the time or you're a loser. And that's just not true. Nobody hurts more than the people who put the most time, the most money, the most effort into playing a sport. And there are just days where it's not your day. No matter what you do, the other team just plays out of their mind. Now, we have been on a streak with my basketball team of playing teams who can't miss. And we don't need that to help us, to hurt us any more than it already does. But you get into that, and sometimes you're just in awe. You're like, man, that person is just at another level that I'm not at. I may never reach. And so the ability to set aside your own frustrations, and I think that's something that every generation honors, being able to go over and shake the guy's hand or the girl's hand and say, hey, today you were just that much better than us. And to be complimentary is not something easy. It's not something that comes natural to us. And so we need to be coached for that. Yeah. And there's a balance there. I've had somebody on Facebook call it Jesus juking. When you lose, it makes you want to go, oh, well, I need to do this or that. And obviously, I'm never going to trash anybody who wants to get closer to Jesus. And certainly we should never let sports come between that part of our life. But I think sports can be an avenue. I mean, how many people have we seen that microphone get stuck in their face, and the first thing they do is honor Jesus, and if you're in the heat of the moment, you may not like that very much. If you're the person, you're trying to find a reason not to like them. I can remember Tim Tebow and going, oh man, I don't like that guy, as long as he had the Gator colors on, but now it's like, man, he's awesome. Give me all the Tim Tebow I can handle. And he was that close to being in Alabama anyways. But it's that balance, and that I think it's a mental health thing. It's an emotional IQ. How can you compartmentalize? Like, we're going to compete. You step in between the lines. We blow the whistle. I'm going to give you everything I've got. And at the very least, I want you to walk away going, man, that guy, he gave everything he had. Everything we gave him, he gave right back. And there's a respect there that you walk away from the sport with.
Yeah, I mean, I love the stories. I think it's Rick Carl, is that his name, that does a lot of the stories on Facebook from Alabama, whether it's Alabama football or Auburn football or Alabama high school sports. He'll write articles all the time. And I love reading those because a lot of times it has to do with that. It has to do with the sportsmanship that takes place. I mean, we love a good rivalry. We love to pick at Blake and pick at all of our Auburn fans and, all of the other people that we're rivals with. But at the same time, at the end of the day, I've loved watching those stories of, the teams coming back together at the end. Cause like you said, you're giving it everything during the game. And then after the game, you're hugging each other, patting each other on the back. And the fans have a hard time sometimes with any love towards each other, but the players don't. They respect the man in the arena with them. And I know, like at the end of Mars Hill's game against Madison Academy this year, there was a moment where Skylar, one of our guys, just kind of fell to his knees, overwhelmed with emotion, having been put out by Madison Academy. And a couple of their best players came over and knelt down beside him and helped pick him up, helped walk him to his, our team before they went to celebrate with their team. And it was like one of those really cool moments where it was nothing but, hey, we're warriors in this battle. We're on opposite sides, but we're going to be there for each other and as humans in a tough time, because they recognize, hey, we're excited, but these guys just got put out. This is a huge hit to them. And so they were comforting him in that before they went and celebrated. There were several other stories that I saw throughout the year where similar things like that happen. And you see it now a lot with exchanging jerseys and the pros and different things like that. But it's just really cool to see that kind of sportsmanship. I think the place that we seem to struggle with it the most, and maybe why we're having a hard time keeping referees, is fans, the fans and the parents. And I'll be the first to admit that sometimes I get frustrated with the referees, and I've tried to do better with that the last couple of years, but sometimes we struggle with it. And of course the state kind of encourages, I'm sure Tennessee too, but encourages that sportsmanship, good sportsmanship. Talk to your team, encourage your team without discouraging or hurting the other team or the officials who were in the ring with them.
Yeah, you'd mentioned some other people. Ike Fowler was my football coach in high school, and a lot of my assistant coaches. Greg Dial was on that staff. He's a dear brother in Christ, preacher, and finding that balance as a coach, and I'm sure as a parent. My kids are playing junior pro basketball, and I just want to be the guy with the foam finger, like, hey, you got out there, you got after it. Good job. And we're struggling a little bit with Daniel just to get him on the court, because I think somebody took the ball away from him, and he didn't quite understand. It's like, well, that's what you do. You can go do that to him too. And so being a parent, being a coach, and finding that balance, that's something I always tried to strike. Like, we're going to push you, but we're also going to encourage you. As a basketball coach, it's like, hey, you as a teammate, you be positive, right? If something negative needs to be said, me or Coach Mills, my assistant, will do that, because we have a little more experience on how to deliver constructive criticism than you. And like I said, social media, I mean, you're either the winner, you're the champion, or you're the worst. And that needs to be tempered some. I know that it gets on my nerves. I can't imagine people who they're actually talking about. I'm sure most of them ignore it. I hope they do. But there is an in between. And we, being Alabama fans, we're the worst, right? It's national championship or bust. And that's just ridiculous. That's a standard that, almost no one outside of cyborgs like Nick Saban can hold, but he himself didn't even look at the scoreboard. And my approach to sports was, I kind of felt more pressure being the guy who was supposed to win, right? When I wasn't supposed to win, hey, all bets are off. Let's just go out there and let it all hang out. Let's play our best and see where the cards fall, or however that phrase goes. And so that's kind of the way I am with our basketball team. Like, there should be no pressure. Just go out there and play the best that you can. And when it's over, it's over. And so I love the focus on the play at hand, because, and I'm sure from a mental health perspective, most of our anxiety comes from what's already happened, or what we're thinking is going to happen, rather than actually doing the thing that we have control over in the moment. And sportsmanship is always that. Our attitude and response to things is always within our control.
Yeah, being able to just in the moment say, okay, reset. Every time you come back to whether it's a timeout, or whether it's the next play in football, or the next pitch in baseball, whatever those things are, just resetting your brain to this is what I've got to do right now. And I mentioned that I had kind of one coach in baseball, but I worked some with the basketball team. I didn't really play, but I did some, wrapping of ankles and taking care of water. I was kind of the water boy. So there, y'all can, have that. That's what I was. But I took care of like Coach Pinnell was one of my coaches that I worked with in that way, and Tony Willis and some of those guys. And I got to thinking, with that, you could probably speak to this too, who spends more time with the teenagers at school than the coaches do? Your parents, even sometimes there's some moments in the year where you spend more time with kids spend more time with their coaches than they do their parents.
Yeah.
And especially like football. I know that's like several weeks out of the summer. It's morning hours, it's afternoon hours. Sometimes they're their teacher as well at some point. In basketball, it's the same way. Volleyball, baseball, there's a lot of time spent with those coaches. And when we start talking about, if you've got a great guide and coach, somebody who is a great mentor, I mean, how incredible is that? And I know that there's probably on the flip side of that, there's been some that haven't been great mentors. But sportsmanship is instilled sometimes by those mentors, but certainly something to be thankful for. I think as I look back, I'm thankful for several of those coaches who coached me, who taught me in school, who were just good friends. And now that's the crazy part, is now a lot of those men are friends that when I see them, we talk, we reminisce about some of those things. And it's like, it's weird how you get almost on the same level at some point with some of the people who coached you, because now you're an adult, they're an adult, and, facing some of the same issues. So just very thankful for all those coaches that I had at Marshall. Coach Williams never coached me, but high school teacher, loved having him as history teacher. Coach Pinnell's a Bible teacher. So just all of those folks that deserve a big round of applause and thank you from me.
Yeah. Important to remember they're human beings. I'd come home after a game, win or lose, and it's 2:00 in the morning, and I'm trying to calm down and stop rewinding everything in my head that could have went better or went wrong, or what I need to get ready for next week. And it is a quick 24-hour turnaround. You have to turn around 24 hours. Now it's a little different, once the season's over. The mission of Heritage Christian University is simple. They aim to advance the churches of Christ by equipping servants through undergraduate and graduate programs. HCU produces effective communicators of the gospel, focusing on evangelism and a commitment to Scripture. Heritage Christian University offers 5 degrees: Associate of Arts in Biblical Studies, Bachelor of Arts in Biblical Studies, Master of Arts, Master of Ministry, and Master of Divinity. HCU is accredited by the Association for Biblical Higher Education and is an associate member of the Association of Theological Schools. Since 1968, Heritage Christian University has offered affordable degrees in biblical studies, allowing graduates to thrive in their ministries without the burden of loan debt. In fact, most graduates finish at HCU without owing anything for their education. For the spring 2024 semester, HCU is offering full tuition scholarships for the graduate level students. For more information about the scholarships they offer, visit www.hcu.edu. HCU invites you to the 2024 Heritage event at the Marriott Shoals Conference Center. Join them on Saturday, August 24th for an incredible night of music from the legendary Ricky Skaggs and Kentucky Thunder. General admission tickets and table sponsorships are available for purchase. Visit hcu.edu to purchase your tickets today. If you think HCU is the perfect university for you, visit hcu.edu to schedule a tour or apply today. Heritage Christian University helps you thrive in your ministry. Ben, you were on a runner-up state champion team, and so you won plenty on the way to that last game or last matchup. I think y'all played as a best of 3. I'm not sure on that. And I've been on championship teams that win that last game, and that was always a point for me. When we went into that last game, I said, how many teams in our league get a chance to end with a win? And I've been on hey, we lifted the trophy. I got hit with the Gatorade bucket, and I've been on the other side of, man, we came up just short. Mm-hmm. And so thinking about being a gracious winner, and a good loser. Those are qualities in our society that are still desperately needed, because unfortunately it is life. I think there's so many people that want to mitigate the negative outcome, and we should as much as we can, but you can't. There's going to be a winner, there's going to be a loser. And so just having people in my life that modeled that, whether it was on TV, and you've seen me plenty fired up at games I had no part in. I didn't play in. I didn't coach. Lose my anger, but to see people who sweated, shed tears, bled, lifted, ran, did all those things, who have more invested in it than me, to see them have a good sportsmanship. I think of people from a distance, Gene Stallings. I mean, say what you will about Coach Stallings, but man, he seemed to always be very gracious in how he dealt with things. And so, it hurts. It's so, as a coach, you hurt for the players. You just absolutely are devastated for the players. As a player, I've been put out of the playoffs quicker than I wanted to be, because everybody, when they get put out, is quicker. But something I always think of, and you can speak to this too, Ben, as a minister, a teacher, anybody who has to deal anything with youth. If Will was here, I'm sure he would agree. My one plea to my parents, whatever area it is, coach, teacher, preacher, youth minister, is if you've got issues with me, first of all, let's do the Jesus thing and come talk to me after you've calmed down, right? Everybody needs to calm down. Everybody needs to have a moment, a day or two to get through it, especially after a loss. Come to me, but please, please, please do not run my name down in front of your kids, because absolutely, I'm still trying. We're still on the same team. I thought about my parents. I'm a tool. I am an investment for them to help them mold this, in my case, boys, to be good men, to be good winners, good losers, and to be good, upstanding citizens.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just important to be on the same team and understand that. And we all have our frustrations, and we all get frustrated by certain things, but I think it's important to keep as much of that as we can, and encourage, like I said earlier, be an encourager of your team, of your coaches, of the people that you can, and then limit the criticism towards the opponents, whoever you see those opponents as being. And I know, like, even with us as college fans, when one bad game goes, one game goes badly, we start blaming coaches, or we start blaming whatever. And it's crazy to me in this day and time, thinking about trying to be a coach in college sports for a while now, just like, hey, we're giving you a year to turn this thing around. It's like, man, sometimes you can't turn something around in a year or two or three. It takes time. And, in this world of give it to me right now, I want what I want right now, it's so hard to get that. And so, which makes it even more amazing when guys like Nick Saban or Kirby Smart or whoever they may be stick around for a long time, because it's just not a world where people are getting to stick around for a long time. So I think the biggest thing about sportsmanship is just being an encourager of the people you can encourage, and maybe keeping your mouth shut, along the other things, the negatives. And when you do need to approach something, approach it in the right kind of way so that you can make changes. And that may be true in marriages. That could be true in friendships. That could be true in your churches, so that we don't hear as much encouragement sometimes as we hear the negatives. And we don't oftentimes handle the negatives as well as we should, and speak them in the way that we should, speak in the truth and love, as Ephesians chapter 4 would tell us. So I think that's a huge thing. I can't help but think of the quote from Theodore Roosevelt, the man in the arena quote. And, my mind keeps going back to that. It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, his face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short up short again and again, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be among those cold and timid souls who neither knew victory nor defeat. So many times we're afraid to jump in there and do something because I may mess up. That's okay. Jump in there and do it anyway. And so I think that's somewhat what sports teaches us is not everybody's going to be the greatest athlete. You're not going to be the guy that gets the biggest NIL deal, but you may be the lineman that makes the difference for the quarterback. And they don't get a whole lot of praise. They don't get a whole lot of the trophies or awards or their names called out nearly as much. But they're the one in there doing it for themselves to show, hey, I did something that maybe I didn't think I could do. Maybe others didn't think I could do. But I stuck it out and I did it anyway.
Well, I will say, and you can speak to this too, you and I both have spent more time probably riding the pine than getting to participate. And I'll speak as a coach too and a player. Those people have so much value. Depth, obviously, people get tired. You're going to need them. But as a coach who at times we played 8-man football, and so you need at least 16 players. And there were times we didn't have that. And so the inability to line up and play 8v8 was killer. I mean, we just could not give any remotely close to a game-like situation like we would have liked to. And so those people are so valuable. And we live in a day and age, you mentioned waiting your turn or playing time. Waiting your turn to us, we understand what that means. I don't know that the new generation, they think waiting your turn is not doing anything. That's not what we're saying. Those guys are doing everything. I did everything that everybody else did to be on that team. There were just better players than me. And so there is a tremendous value. Just learning patience. Patience is a virtue. But also being there in practice to give these guys a look. I mean, I played mainly offense. So I was always the scout team offense. I was always somebody on that team. And so I took my beating. So waiting your turn isn't necessarily not doing anything. It's just being ready when that time comes. And I'm thankful. There were times I had frustration. There were times I wanted to quit. There were times I came home with tears in my eyes. I'm ready to be done. I've not gotten any kind of encouragement, which was not true. But you reach those times of frustration. But also that taught me as much or more than playing. Practice, taking scout team. I knew the other team's offense backwards and forwards. I knew what to look for. And then I get to go be a coach, and that helped me so much. So I think just even throwing that out there, knowing how to be a good teammate, even when maybe you're not getting the playing time that somebody else, there's so much value to that.
Think about Tua and Hurts.
That was the example I was going to go to. Hurts. Yeah.
I mean, they were both great. They're both in the NFL now because they challenged each other, and it was a back and forth game there for a little while about who's going to be there. But if you remember on the sidelines, they were always like slapping each other on the top of the helmet, patting each other's backs, giving encouragement. When one would go out, the other one would jump in, and they were there for each other, and it made the difference. I know Jalen ultimately ended up going to Oklahoma, but there was, he was great because he was challenged. Tua was great because he was challenged. You're a team player regardless of whether you're sitting on the bench, which, like you said, I got to do a whole lot of, or you're the guy getting to play. And and I had teammates who were amazing encouragers, even though they were getting to play all the time and I was sitting on the bench, they would be an encouragement to me. They would encourage me in my frustrations. For the most part, the ones I remember are the ones who encouraged me, the ones who, didn't treat me any differently because I was not a starter or whatever, but they were right there with it. So whether you're starting and you're encouraging those behind you, or whether you're sitting on the bench encouraging the ones that get to start, there's so much that goes into being a part of the team.
The thing that I keep at my classroom to remind me is I got voted team captain my senior year. And I had not played nearly enough it was not an on-field type thing. But I got a captain award along with the other guys who did.
Yeah.
And I can't help but think that being a good teammate and basically being a cheerleader to some degree helped in that.
Well, and I'd say this as we close. Think about who it is that you're thankful for. Some of you guys that listen to this, girls that listen to this, may not have played sports. But who is it that you could show some appreciation to this week? Who is it that has impacted you in a positive way? Write them a letter, send them a text, give them a call, say something to their face. If you see them now, maybe they've gone on and you need to just write a little note that only you know about, but you say say Thanksgivings to them for what they have done for you, because we've all got those people who've helped make us who we are. Some of that good, some of that bad, I guess. But, who can you show some appreciation to this week as you go through appreciation? Write a letter of appreciation week. So we hope that you guys can do that.
Oh, and I'll mention some cheese in connection to what we're talking about. Just watch the Bart Starr documentary on ESPN. That dude was full of sportsmanship, hard-nosed, and a great cheese head for the Green Bay Packers, several world championships. And that he played for the Tide didn't hurt either.
That doesn't hurt at all. I think it's that national cheese, like baked cheese, the little cheese curls. I think that's this week too. So, go have you some cheese curls or whatever those Cheetos are and enjoy those this week too.
Thanks for being with us for this episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast. Be sure to download our free ebook, 28 Days of Focused Living, at benandtravis.com and receive all of our Helping Healing and Humor extra content directly in your inbox. We look forward to having you join us at the same Ben and Travis time, same Ben and Travis channel.